Luke 10, verses 1 through 24. Now after this, the Lord appointed 72 others and sent them in pairs ahead of him to every city and place where he himself was going to come. And he said to them, "The harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Therefore, beseech the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers into his harvest. Go, behold, I send you out as lambs in the midst of wolves. Carry no money belt, no bag, no shoes, and greet no one on the way. Whatever house you enter, first say, 'Peace be to this house.' If a man of peace is there, your peace will rest on him. But if not, it will return to you." Go ahead and read 6 through 17 on your own. Right now we're going to skip down to the homecoming that we see in verse 17. The 72 returned with joy, saying, "Lord, even the demons are subject to us in your name." And he said to them, "I was watching Satan fall from heaven like lightning. Behold, I have given you authority to tread on serpents and scorpions and over all the powers of the enemy, and nothing will injure you. Nevertheless, do not rejoice in this, that the spirits are subject to you, but rejoice that your names are recorded in heaven." At that time, he rejoiced greatly in the Holy Spirit and said, "I praise you, O Father, Lord of heaven and earth, that you have hidden these things from the wise and the intelligent and have revealed them to infants. Yes, Father, for this was well-pleasing in your sight." We've just heard Jesus tell would-be disciples how costly it would be to follow him. Now he sends out 72 and repeats some of the instructions he gave earlier to the 12. Jesus announces that the harvest time in verse 2. You don't need many laborers for sowing, but you need them at the time of harvest. Jesus is announcing that the days of promise for Israel are over, and now each person must individually respond to the coming of the Messiah. Proclaiming the gospel to a hostile world can be dangerous. Jesus even announces, "I'm sending you out like lambs among wolves." In verse 3. A shepherd's job is to protect his sheep. But here, Jesus is announcing that he's sending them out into the part of the field where the wolf pack prowls. Sheep are weak and wolves are savages. What a stark picture of Christian mission that we are called to be on. The book of Acts records the many sufferings that the apostles faced. Today, thousands of Christians are in prison or suffering because they boldly preach Christ. Of course, our Good Shepherd is always with us, but a commitment to the gospel preaching is a commitment to suffer. The 72 return triumphantly from their successful mission. But Jesus reminds them not to lose perspective. First, they should not be surprised at their authority over demons. Indeed, Jesus saw the ultimate downfall of Satan. Satan is the great serpent that we see in Genesis 3, and then again towards the end of the book in Revelation 20, verses 2. And here, Jesus similarly describes his demoniac followers as snakes and scorpions. We see that in verses 19. He's not referring to literal snakes, as the disciples have just come back from seeing demons subject to Jesus' name. He's speaking of our triumph over the forces of darkness. So second, Jesus reminds us that greater than these seeing success in our Christian ministry is the unspeakable joy of knowing that before the foundation of the world, God picked up his pen and wrote our names in his book of life. It's wonderful when people are blessed through your ministry, but more thrilling is it that God has sent his eternal love upon you. What causes you joy? Consider these verses from Luke chapter 10. Verses 21 and 22. At that very time he rejoiced greatly in the Holy Spirit and said, "I praise you, O Father, Lord of heaven and earth, that you have hidden these things from the wise and the intelligent and have revealed them to infants. Yes, Father, for this was well-pleasing in your sight. All these things have been handed over to me by my Father, and no one knows who the Son is except the Father, and who the Father is except the Son, and anyone to whom the Son wills to reveal him." Why is God's grace to the humble such a cause for joy for Jesus? What causes you joy? Now think about what causes Jesus joy and what causes you joy, and compare and consider if they line up. What are some of the ways in which we can rekindle or deepen the joy of our eternal salvation?